Ali, nice to meet you, man. How you doing?
You too, Bill. Thanks for having me. I'm doing really good, other than, not sleeping as much as we all should.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And I don't know if it's stress or just excitement. We tend to
Yeah, I
just
think
get,
there's a lot of excitement in the air.
yeah, no doubt. So, um, what prompted you to become the BitClout Oracle? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. I think I lost you for a second.
It's all right. It's all good. So I just asked the question, and I kind of can hear you. I kind of can hear me in the background there.
Can you?
Yeah, just barely.
Let
You have
me.
headphones on?
Well, I took the headphones out because it was actually there seemed to be a signal delay from.
Oh, okay.
But let me try that again and see. Just make sure we're not actually talking over each other. Let's try it again. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfectly
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to start over?
Yeah.
All right. Ollie, nice to meet you,
I
man.
just I
Thanks.
just time out. I was gonna say before we start. Yeah, there seems to just be like there's garble, and I don't know if it's my iPad to AirPods or if it's you coming through StreamYard. Because there seems to be like a second delay where we have those awkward pauses.
That's probably um,
Yeah,
the
because I hear myself a
Bluetooth.
second or two delayed in your headphones.
Hmm.
Because I
Trying
can't
to
I
think
can't
of.
hear the words that I'm saying, but I can hear the sounds coming from your headphones like right now, bouncing back at me. And if I stop talking, it still goes for another 2 seconds sometimes.
That is weird. Um, I think that has anything to do with it.
We can just try it and see
Yeah,
see what
actually,
happens. I'll just
yeah, we just see. I'm hearing.
oh
Oh,
no,
I know
there's a
what
lot of overlap. We probably
that.
should restart
No, hold
this.
on. No, hold on. I think I know what that is, and this may be causing the problem. Give me just a second. Okay, is this any better?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, that sort of
Yeah, I think
overlap
so.
was
That's
my,
it. Now we're in real time.
yeah, my other computer was trying to butt in, and I thought it was muted, but that's how we usually use the audio for that to go to Clubhouse, and it's usually inaudible unless you're on Clubhouse. So that was trying to take over. So I've got that taken care of, I guess. So we'll start
Awesome.
over. It sounds better all the way already
Sweet.
for me. All right, Ali, thanks for joining the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I mean, I could use a little bit more sleep, but there's so much excitement in the air for the BitClout community and what all we're doing in the space that I just can't help but be excited. So, thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I admit that I'm not sleeping as well or as much as I should. I wake up, my mind racing. So, what prompts you to, at some point you had to say, "I think I'm the BitClout Oracle." When did that happen?
Well, there was a couple of those first days I was in Clubhouse, kind of theorizing where I thought this may go, and someone said, you're the BitClout Oracle, and then the name kind of stuck. So I thought, better to own it than run away from it, and it's kind of stuck.
Yeah. Well, and I don't hear that. I've seen it on your profile, but I certainly don't hear people really say that. But I certainly, you and I inhabit a lot of the same clubhouse rooms and discussions. And, some of those rooms tend to just be like, you can imagine an office full of cubicles where people just kind of talk to each other. And sometimes there's silence, but it's like we're all together, but doing our own thing. And people just pipe in and ask questions. And, um, I've even seen some of these rooms that last kind of all day, and half the crew's already gone and others come in and somebody finally says, well, I think I'm just going to lock up for the day. But that's, been kind of fun to watch. But I've always heard you say a lot of interesting things, and you certainly have your finger on the pulse of what's happening with this platform. Sometimes to the point where I'm like, he must be on a back channel with some developers or something. Are you able to communicate at all with any of the dev team, or do you have any inroads there?
Well, I think it's just why people call me the Oracle is I'm able to make some accurate predictions because I've been theorizing a status or message, blockchain for humanity for about 5 years now. So in terms of kind of, just working on theory, I've written papers, I've consulted with clients on what a platform like this would look and function like. And I think a lot of people think that they're just like playing on a website, but there's a lot of technical specifications that go into the design that then influence human behavior and things you can do and can't do. And because I have been a thought leader in kind of that space of theory, it was able for me to discern what the developer's intent was in this or that. For example, in that they chose to honor Bitcoin and make Bitcoin kind of the reserve currency for BitClout, the token, instead of Ethereum, was a very conscious decision, kind of counterintuitive in the crypto space if you just wanted to create a social media site. But if you wanted to create something that was very long lasting proof of work that paid homage to, Satoshi, and if you believe that you want to survive, beyond a decade when a lot of these alts are going to go to zero, you would do it on Bitcoin. So for me, that was something that only 3 people in the whole space have ever thought about. And so when I saw this roll out like this, it was just easy for me to kind of make some of those predictions.
So what about the proof of work part of this makes that more long lasting than, say, well, even though Ethereum officially is proof of work for the moment, is it
Yeah.
does that provide the longevity? It could go just decades into the future.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of environmentally conscious people is what I'll say to be kind. Um, want to believe that proof of work is a waste of energy, but there is no better use of energy than security, and then a global ledger not controlled by governments. So proof of work is a way of pricing in security to energy. And so in the future, Bitcoin's actually an energy market. And when you think about how much, asteroid mining or space travel or getting to and fro somewhere, everything will be measured in the future of our species by energy. Kind of this banknote that we have, this funny banknote that we have is just, it's going to be seen as archaic and maybe barbaric. Um, and that's if history is kind to the bankers. If not, it will be seen as a a purposeful way of disguising the energy market. And, all life is energy. And so in the future, what proof of work and Bitcoin seek to measure is the expenditure of energy. And money provides a signal delay. And so proof of stake is just less secure. It allows early investors to box out new entrants to the market. It then centralizes a lot of the network, and the political wars, hash wars, manifest in different and again ways that make your network less secure. So, in a proof of work, the best way to attack your opponent, is to run better miners than them and contribute to the network. This accomplishes peace. So when you hear some of these Bitcoin maximalists say that Bitcoin accomplishes peace and ends war, it's because of how it channels incentives, directives, and ultimately energy. Whereas proof of stake turns into a political game, and political games trigger wars. And so it's a rabbit hole to go down. But if you go down it and you come out okay on the other side, because I have seen people lose their marbles. It's a fascinating topic that you end up recognizing that it engulfs politics, psychology, sociology, and physics. And it was sitting there, right there in Satoshi's white paper.
Yeah, and I may be taking this too far afield, but I've been thinking about the proof of work and Bitcoin. And it seems to me that with in the recent past, you see the big bold predictions about what Bitcoin will be in the future and how it will be the reserve currency of the world, and Bitcoin could be worth $100 million and all of these things. True or not, I start looking at it and going, maybe Bitcoin could be better for the environment than no Bitcoin, in that it forces innovation. It forces use of unused power. So is it possible that it could force the innovation of renewable, or what we would maybe call renewable energy, innovative new energy forms, because of the demand?
I don't know. We'll see. I think either way it'll force, because it'll be profitable to secure a network that everyone participates in, and either profitable on the affirmative side, where it's profitable to confirm transactions, or profitable on sort of a defensive side, where you as a country or a major corporation or a group of people don't want to lose your ability to participate in the network. It will find well, let me say another way. It will reduce the market inefficiencies. So things that are kind of clown shows, like wind power, will not be used in the market, because nobody will subsidize that, because all kind of funny money will go into something more profitable, like confirming the network that will maybe get humanity to Mars and create satellite colonies and help dissidents around the world, and deal with corruption in countries where dictators and bankers seek to play funny money and use up a country's resources. Bitcoin accomplishes solving some of these market inefficiencies, and the energy market will adapt, because there won't be subsidized funny money to subsidize political agendas that are fueled by propaganda and not physics.
So to bring this back to BitClout, because I know we could talk Bitcoin and proof of work for probably another hour and nerd out on that, but people listening to this podcast want to learn about BitClout, I suppose. And as it represents a decentralized social network, what little I know about your past, because I haven't dug in, and I know it's a very storied past and somewhat controversial, and but so much of that has to do with social media, and we're on the heels of some pretty oblique shadow bans, outright deplatforming, all of these things. Do you think that is it possible that people may look at you as someone who's like, well, we're going to go here because Twitter hates me, or anything like that?
Well, I mean, a universal ledger for a social layer on top of Bitcoin. I mean, everyone's going to go there. There won't be, there won't be. The reason is all of the reasons. People will go there to beauty blog. People will go there because they're kicked off other platforms. People will go there because it's fun. People will go there because the network effects require it, to get a job or something like that. I mean, for the same reasons everyone goes anywhere else, looking for opportunity and connection. And so I think, BitClout is attempting not to be a social media company. It's seeking to be a social layer for the entire internet and for our species. And certainly people who have fewer market choices or consumer choices because they've been deplatformed on other platforms are going to seek BitClout because they have time, and they have, a need, and they can provide supply. So, I think that's what's going on there.
Yeah. So I've really been wanting to talk to you this week and hear your thoughts on just the radical changes, the radical updates that have happened this week. And I'll name a few of them, and I want you to pick out one of them and say, this is the one I think is most significant. So we have the ability to trade coins amongst each other, or send a creator coin from one person to another. We have the ability or the API allowing somewhat of an off-ramp or maybe on-ramp as well, with exchanges being able to list the BitClout coin. And then we have the ability to operate your own node and curate content. Which of those three do you think is most significant?
Maybe sending creator coins, from one person to another, because I think it changes the economics that we've understood of the platform. As best as we can tell, creator coins are a denotation on the BitClout blockchain. They aren't themselves their own blockchain. This also introduces some regulatory concerns, and probably increases the risk that we do get a response from the U.S. government, which will determine where this platform kind of goes, or it may not, and then that might be the new precedent. So to me, that's the most significant change. Although I think the community is most excited about nodes being partially open, and I think within days will be more completely open.
Yeah, and that node part of this really captured my attention. The idea that you have the whole fire hose available to you, and that you can create your own sort of, call it your own Twitter, your own Facebook, or other social platform, or just simply a community or a regionalized community, like a particular country may have its own just sort of social media that could reside on this blockchain. Do you see any sort of do you see that happening at all? Like, does this become like a new internet?
Yeah, I think it will. it's certainly kind of like a new schema for the internet. It's like an appendable database on everything. Everything will have to adapt to interface in some way with BitClout's blockchain, and not everything, but many things. And consumers will want to download their own user data in kind of a common syntax. People are going to want to display their data and treat their data in their own way. There will be a lot of money in designing great experiences and not worried about how the data is stored, because there's this common way to store it. And so, this is a new internet of sorts, and in a lot of ways, like, that new internet was born with Bitcoin, and hopefully it will outlast the internet. A lot of things are going to change in the future, and yeah.
So with, especially with nodes coming online, the ability for people to run nodes, which, accelerates the decentralization of this platform. And, you mentioned earlier about Bitcoin and how it somewhat mitigates the problem of corruption and despotic dictators and all of these things. And, that Bitcoin has the ability to do that, but really through a transactional, or, just how we deal with money and transactions. But when you apply that same level of decentralization to this social part of it, because isn't social media probably equally as scary to a dictator or more than loss of control of their state currency?
Probably, yeah. Either one can spark revolution, and so, yeah, they definitely certainly seek to control social media, and right now it's very crude. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
A lot of governments are seeking to just outright ban websites. The US government's a little bit more clever in using corporate media to run a soft power campaign or a propaganda campaign. And so certainly people in power want to stay in power, and social media provides both revenue but a lot of problems.
Yeah. But this thing, even though it started with some sort of a corporate nature, even though we want to, act as if it's, just a loose band of developers that threw this together. If they ultimately can step back and it becomes like a foundation that's developing and governing this thing, kind of like the Bitcoin Foundation or the core dev teams for Bitcoin, but still Bitcoin is out in the wild and nobody can tame it. You foresee that in the near future for BitClout, that it's out in the wild. It creates this, there's a fire hose effect that they talk about, where here's everything and anybody can use it however they want. We're hands off in a way. And, so take a small country, Venezuela, where maybe the populace starts up their own node, sort of, in a clandestine fashion, and can sort of start doing their own little community of things that are important to them. Whereas that can then rival what Maduro might set up as his own node to do his own sort of propaganda.
Yeah.
And nobody can stop the other, really, unless they turn off the internet, I suppose.
Well, even, yeah, I mean,
something to think about, I guess. Those are the things that keep me up thinking about this crazy platform we've encountered. So we could go on and on about this, but let's talk about something that I think is pretty significant that you've done, which is CloutMembers.com. I'm going to pull that up on the screen here, but tell us about that and what led you to want to create that.
Well, I've said that there's about 5 different games going on, but you can best understand BitClout.com, which is the first app on the BitClout blockchain. And that there's basically 2 things going on. There's speculation and then there's creation. And the speculation market is fun. And there's, some guys who are, have excelled in parts of their career, but haven't really made a name for themselves. And so they're looking for fulfillment and kind of playing this buying and trading and selling people. But what I actually am passionate about is, I'm a content creator myself. I'm an artist myself. And my mediums are many different, things. And so, in trying to help stabilize the BitClout community and not encourage people to kind of off ramp or look for an exit, but instead see what they can do to incentivize their own creativity and others. We wanted to create, instead of a paywall, a staking wall. And so we wanted to find a way to reward coin holders because we knew that would incentivize creators to keep experimenting with the platform. So we essentially launched, I guess it was a second ever app in the BitClout ecospace that sought to empower creators specifically and not just traders or speculators. And we're certainly the most used app for creators and their coin holders in the entire space. I'm really, really proud of that. And another way of thinking of it is like a Patreon for BitClout, but adopting the BitClout native economics. Again, staking and building a staking wall and holding coins and encouraging people to hodl instead of make a one-time payment or anything like that. And we're certainly going to build those features into CloutMembers.com once the source is completely opened and we find the best way. We want to present one-time payment options or even monthly recurring payment options. But for now, it was about stabilizing the broader market as a win for the entire community.
So do you see those payments you're referring to being on chain or some sort of off chain Visa type payment?
On chain.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like Patreon and I don't like Stripe, and so I'm here to help build the new economy. Not really interested in building some company or IPOing some company or any of that. I mean, I want to dream of a new world, and I think that there are a lot of people in the BitClout space who have similar temperaments, and so this seems like the best chance to take that mission to Mars, if you will. And so that's what we're focused on now. Eventually maybe the product does take USD payments or alternative cryptocurrencies, but right now we're just talking to all of our customers on what unites us, and that's BitClout.
And like, is it possible that you could do this in a way where I would presume that if it's on chain, the mind goes immediately to, well, send CloutMembers.com some BitClout. Is it possible that you could set up something where people can send other people's coins as payment, to where then CloutMembers has a stake in someone else? I mean, because at this point, I think nobody's really even thought through the whole process of that each person's coin becomes currency.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. We don't know how we're going to experiment with the creator coin. We know what we can do with BitClout, the BitClout token. But yeah, there's interesting incentives we could work in for the creator coin. Like for example, right now, when people hold, it's a couple of bucks of CloutMembers coin, it actually enables premium product features because right now the service is free for everyone. But if you wanted to unlock advanced features on the website, you're holding, I think it's about $10 or $7 or $6 in CloutMembers token, which by far is like the cheapest rewards for any product in the entire space right now, that incentivizes that behavior. So it is interesting to think like, oh, well, what if we had some other features you could unlock by sending CloutMembers your creator coin? I want to be very, very cautious about how I approach the economics of the creator coins, because that to me is the most fragile. There's also, like I said, a lot of regulatory risk in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, but what's fun is playing with this new economics, because there's not a lot of new things, for people, in general, let alone the, internet. There's just not a lot of new things. This presents a lot of new ways of doing newish type things.
Yeah. Well, the part that strikes me about being able to send people creator coin, if you, if I were to look at, let's say I bought some Thor coin and I got in early on the bonding curve. So I got a bunch of it at a low price, and then through time, his coin has gone up. And then I want to send that as payment for whatever level of payment I need to establish with your platform. Well, I liken it to, well, what if I bought Ethereum 5 years ago at like $10? Well, I'm going to be more free with that because I have so much more of it that I got at a lower price. And I may want to trade that instead of USD that I have to buy now, or some other asset that I have to buy now and send. I think that's a part of the equation where when people start talking about sending coins to each other, there's relative values that each owner of that coin can assess, in that when they bought it, what the relative value has increased to, and that maybe they feel sort of crypto rich because they maybe got in early on something and it blew up, and now they have more, I'll say clout. They have more spending power. And I don't think people are thinking about it. I think they think of it now as just this novelty that, oh, I could just send you some coin and you can send me some coin. I don't think people are weighting it yet and thinking through what is their relative value their asset value that they may have in those coins.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I mean, it's you got to speculate on your own value or the value of people you're staking in, and that's a really wild card. To bet on human productivity. There's no person, or I should say, there's been very few people who went out of this life at the top of their game. Very, very few people. And so, understanding that, buying in early isn't the only game, is tough. It's just tough. And so to me, it's really interesting. I think it encourages maybe some swing trading, or maybe it's like, hey, I know I can bet on this person for 3 months to 3 years. But I know that myself, I don't know that I'm comfortable betting on anyone, honestly, longer than a year. Especially if I'm having to bet on what their content output's going to be, that they're not going to get sick, that if they lose interest, they'll still be dispassionate about just consistently creating content. Like, I think there's probably 5 people on the platform that I would trust to just, see it through. And so that's what's really interesting to me. And when someone gifts you their creator coin, it's like, well, do I trust you to keep producing? And is this gift worth anything? And I think that's going to be interesting to watch.
It sure is. And the part of this that, you've heard this, I know, probably countless times, and probably been in a lot of discussions with people, because we're dealing with people that are involved with this that have done nothing but create and have never thought sort of in economic terms, quite possibly, and they get their feelings hurt when they find someone has sold their coin, and they want to know why. And some people go, resort to contacting a person who's sold their coin to say, well, why'd you do that? Whereas in normal, speculation and investment, that never takes place. This whole idea of
Right.
sending coins, I think, could change that discussion, dramatically, because the whole idea that's really confused me is like, if I'm going to create value in my brand and I've amassed this wealth in the form of my own creator coin, people seem to have this idea, well, you're not supposed to use it because then you're, diminishing your coin holder's value in you. So it becomes like, well, why am I even doing it? So it seems to me that if I'm going to liquidate, I could find somebody else to buy it from me, and then the value stays the same.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is if you create a secondary market for someone to buy your creator coin, you have to sell below your list price. And otherwise, why doesn't the person just buy the list price? Another thing is that why hasn't that person already bought you? And if they have, then you're talking about a very limited pool of people who are interested in a secondary market, and that's people who are already holding your coin. So, well,
Yeah.
and then it has to be someone high enough up on your coin chart. So the secondary market for creator coins might actually just be a couple of people. Either that, or it has to be someone who has a large enough holding where they're trying to divest, 20 or 30 or 50% of their holdings without crashing the token.
Yeah.
So I actually, I eventually want to write about it, but I think the economics of it are just going to be interesting because I'm not sure. It might be for some other purpose. A lot of people have talked about these DeFi models where you could take out loans against yourself and your popularity or something like that. That might be the intended purpose from the developer team. They do have a DeFi background. So to me, it's interesting. It's also going to be tough to play with, but I think it's interesting. And one idea that I was tossing around with a crypto hedge fund yesterday morning was, what if we build a system where people can have public guarantees of how long they're going to hold their creator coin, a minimum. So you send your creator coin to a smart contract that says it cannot sell for 6 months, or a year or 5 years. And this kind of is a way of proving how stable a price is for a creator. And so, yeah, there's really interesting things that can be played with. It's just going to be fascinating. I think that whoever gets it on the creator coins, whoever gets it on a technical and economic level and works, everybody's going to adopt it. I'm not sure what it is
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
it's going to be interesting.
Well, as you're saying that, it makes me think, I spoke to Siegel last week, and he went over the white paper with us and, on a podcast, and talked about their version 3 that would involve the ability to, well, as he put it, tokenize coin holders so that they could trade those tokenized coins, which I've looked at the recent announcement from the platform that now you can send coins. And I looked at it as, well, that kind of ruins Siegel's version 3. But now that you're describing it that way, it almost makes it seem like there may be a bigger need for what Siegel's trying to do, to create a trader market for coins.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Man,
Yeah, it's
this is a
interesting
head
because
scratcher.
I know someone who had a conversation. Yeah. I know someone who had a I know someone who had a conversation with Siegel, and they said that he wasn't really interested until maybe after their conversation about what's called wrapping creator coins. But yeah, it's just really interesting because you not only would have to, well, one, you don't have to wrap the creator coin. You could just have a smart contract deal with it now. But you'd have to also build a purpose behind it. Like it's not just sending and trading for trading's sake. Because like we just examined, I think there's too limited a market for every creator. It's like, why sell if you're holding an Elon token? Why sell? Why not sell the open market where you can get a full price, or why would you sell to your friend at a discount? So, and if your friend is willing to buy full price, then they can just buy full price and mint, their own Elon token. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Someone has to not only figure out the technical specs of it, but what's the economic incentive for people participating in, again, some type of additional thing. It can't be buying and selling and transferring the coin. There has to be like another incentive on top of it, and that's got to be some layer 2 protocol that everyone trusts, that everyone's getting paid to participate in, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. It opens up the door for so much innovation, and I kind of look at it as, especially with young people like Siegel's age and even younger, I think we're going to see they'll start looking at this economy and start transacting in ways you and I probably will never consider. I think they'll just inherently figure out ways to transact between each other with, oh, I'm going to give you some of this coin and and you send me, I don't know, I can't even think of it, but I know that I have faith in humanity that the creativity will prevail and there'll be some really exciting things to watch happen and how people will exploit this.
I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. I think we've probably gone long enough, and I could go way, way longer, but I know I want to honor your time. And man, I can't believe we finally got you on here. We've been talking about it for a while now, but hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe when my face isn't peeling, we'll do a whole visual show and just appreciate what you're doing for the community. I think this podcast could be a real staple in the community, and as long as we keep focusing on this creators economy, then the speculator part of what we're all doing can be value added instead of kind of the bull in the china shop.
Yeah, that's kind of how I think some of us feel already. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.